Trail 75 in here, and our neck is in, which means we are ready for part 2. We can put the rest of the guitar together, and so let's get to it. So we have our neck, and it is a Fender Telecaster Deluxe neck with vintage tuners and the bullet truss rod. And not only that, but it is the Chris Shiflett neck off of his Telecaster, and we got those cool vintage, cool vintage Fender style tuners. So, and before he asks, yes, I did go watch your video on how to string those properly. So, we're going to go ahead and just do some cleanup on it real quick. I will say that I've already done a pass over uncleaning the neck previously, but it did need a kind of second go over on it. The first one was really to clean the rosewood fretboard. The second one was to get some places I missed. And there was a lot of residue on the frets, so just went and pull those off. Probably didn't need to do that because we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and because we're going to go ahead and polish the frets here in a minute. So probably want to wipe them down one more time after that. Then we'll recondition the fretboard. We'll put the neck on, string it up, do some setup that may or may not make it onto the video. I've seen you guys have all seen a guitar set up before, and that might be a little too boring and be too a longer video. And we'll get some tone samples out of it and see what our four-way switching and our Dylan pickups have done in this new Fender Telecaster. All right. Okay, so we have our straight edge here, and I have gone ahead and put it on the neck. Sorry. And we can see that we're really good shape there. The neck is straight. And Brad Guitar Miller is going to go ahead and help us make sure that our frets are in good shape in terms of is there any rocking on them. So this first set is good. No rocking on those. This is a 12-inch radius fretboard, by the way, in case you were wondering, and it is a modern C-neck rosewood fretboard. So our frets are great that way. There are no divots in the frets, and they're shiny enough, but we're going to go ahead, as long as we've got it off the guitar. Got the micro mesh sheets here, and so we'll go ahead and we'll give them a good shine. And since it's an unfinished fretboard, we can go ahead and do this without taping it all up, as long as we're careful we're not going to do any damage. And we're going to be reconditioning the board anyway. That's our first one. So that was 1500 grit. This one is 1800 grit. Make sure those get back in the right direction. All right, 2400 grit. Just a couple passes on each one is good. This one is 3200 grit. And these go all the way up to 12,000 grit. $3,600 grit. $4,000 grit. $6,000 grit. $8,000 grit. And finally, our 12,000 grit. And I do a couple extra passes with the 12,000 grit. It's your last chance at it, so. Make up for anything that you might have gone over too quickly on a previous pass. Okay, and we'll go back here and clean it off one more time to get all that residue from the micro mesh and whatever you might have taken off the frets. Clean that up a little bit before we go ahead and condition our fretboard. And you can see, look at how bright those are. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and use our F1 oil to condition our fretboard. And there it is. And this cloth only gets used for conditioning the fretboard. So we'll put a good drop in the space between each fret. And this was in pretty good shape when I got it. It was just a little dirty. It had been played, it had been loved. And so we just needed to clean it up a little bit. And, you know, I'm willing to bet that once I put it together, I'm not going to want to take it apart to do this later, as excited as I may be to get it all together. And so I figure, okay, do that. All right, so we'll just go ahead and kind of spread it out a little bit. Not wiping it off, just kind of spreading out onto the fret more. Stealing from some other places for the places that look a little drier. And let that go ahead and soak in for a little bit. And we'll be back. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. And now we're going to go ahead and just get rid of the excess and spread out to anything that may need a area that might be just a touch dry still. But go ahead and move the excess so it's not all over our fingers and it's not causing any trouble. Make sure to move over to the drier portion of the cloth and I just love the way that when you do this, how the fretboard darkens up a little bit and becomes more clear. Okay, so here's what we end up with. So we've got modern C neck, CBS era headstock, the larger Fender logo on it, the bullet truss rod, the vintage Fender tuners, medium jumbo frets, and a 12-inch radius. So, all right, time to go ahead and start putting it together. All right, so we have our body here. And we'll place that down, move it over here because we're going to need more room. And we'll set our neck in. And it does have quite a nice fit. And roll it over. And I've got cloth down there, okay. Here's our neck plate. And our 4 screws. And, oh, you know what? Hold on 1 minute. Yeah, I almost forgot. Okay, so I've got a candle here, and we're going to go ahead and just get some of the wax onto the screw threads, and that'll help them to go in a little bit easier. That'll give me another thing to clean up too, but it's okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and they're just seating really easy there. So that means those screw holes were lining up perfectly. And then I'm gonna come back here and we'll do it crossways. So the screw hole, Fender's really good about that. Those screw holes lining up perfectly. Okay, we'll come up here. Remember, they just need to be snug. They don't need to be torqued way down. And so what I do is I get down to the end, I'll loosen up my grip on the screwdriver so the screwdriver will slip a little bit on my hand, rather than putting all the pressure down there on the screw head and stripping out the top of the screw. I'll come back here and give this one a little turn because it was the first one and we didn't. Okay. Polish that up a little bit. Get the extra wax off of that. Put that up out of the way. And so here we have it all together, minus the strings for the first time. We have a Mexican tele body from 2008. We've got Dylan pickups in it, all Fender parts. We have Chris Shiflett signature neck on it with the rosewood fingerboard, 12-inch radius, medio jumbo frets, and the vintage Fender tuners with the slots in them, and the CBS era headstock on it. It's modern C-shaped neck. So, now time to string it up and see what it sounds like. Hello folks, and here we have it, our completed Telecaster build. It is all put together, it is set up, it is intonated, and so far it's a thing of beauty. And I almost didn't want to make the video because I wanted to just keep playing with it. And so let's hear some sound samples. Our bridge. Our neck and our bridge. Our neck. And in series. So there we have it, all of our tone samples. If you ask me, it sounds pretty good. I'm really liking the in-series position. It just kind of gives it a girth that a Telecaster normally doesn't have. Um, but I really am enjoying it. Got a great deal on the body, fantastic deal on the neck, and the neck did come with the vintage tuners. It was a fully loaded neck, so that was really great. And I got some great deals in the rest of the parts. Fantastic deal on the Dylan Flat 6 pickups. And this is probably going to rapidly become my number one. And don't tell my other number one, it's afraid. With that, I want you to enjoy your guitar journey. And I want to thank you for being part of mine. You're still here? Video's over? Go play guitar.